Alright everyone, I've got some more early Borderlands 4 gameplay for you. In this one, I'm going to be showing off a brand new vault mission alongside an insane boss fight. These are just going to be my first impressions, and if you would like to see just the gameplay with no commentary, be sure to stick around because I will be uploading those as well. Of course, I do have to say thank you to 2K for sponsoring this video alongside flying me out to get early hands on. And as always, I want to give a massive thank you to you guys for allowing me to even receive opportunities like this in the first place. If you haven't seen my other coverage of Borderlands 4, definitely be sure to go check those videos out as well. But without further ado, let's talk about one of the coolest additions coming to Borderlands 4. So to start the video off, I think we should ask the question, what is a vault? So these are going to be new missions that you can find out in the world, and they are very linear. It's a hectic, almost dungeon-like area with a massive amount of enemies to clear and a very cool boss fight at the end. The one we played was essentially just 4 parts. You had an ad clear area to start off, then you moved on to another more challenging ad clear area, and then you reached the last ad clear area that had a small mini boss, and then finally after all of that you fought the big vault boss. And I have a lot to say about this boss. Beating the whole thing will of course grant you a lot of loot, not only from the boss but also red chests at the end, and it also seemingly looks like this is going to be a way to upgrade your movement or stamina bar. As you see in the gameplay, we got a glide pack upgrade that granted it faster regen, but once you've completed the vault, you can then use the Moxie machine to immediately respawn the boss to fight him again without doing the previous ad clear parts. And you're going to want to do this to farm gear, test builds, and of course try to get your hands on the dedicated legendary drop. In our play session, some creators actually got it to drop, and it's a TDR shotgun with an alternate fire that basically turns it into a little gun companion without having to do the normal TDR reload. I imagine you could pair this with the part that makes it so when you reload you get the gun with legs, and then pairing those two together you should be able to have an army of TDR weapons around you. It seems like a pretty cool legendary. So that's everything you need to know about the vaults, but what are my opinions on them? Personally, I had an absolute blast playing through it. Not only was it a ton of fun, but it was also pretty challenging as well. The ad density felt really good, and I imagine once we have some of our crazy builds in our hands, it's going to feel amazing to just shred through everything. With the layout also being linear, it was a nice change of pace from the normal world you play in. You could be out exploring the massive world they've crafted, find a vault, and then go into it, and now you have a very clear point that you need to go to. I think this change of pace is going to feel great for the game, and I cannot wait to find them all. There are also a ton of different enemies in the vault that you could fight, and with the new modifier system as well, it kept things feeling fresh even when running through the areas again. It took me about 20-ish minutes to beat it on my first playthrough and 17-ish to do it on my second one. Nothing ever felt like it dragged along, and 4 different stages felt like it was the correct number. The first 2 ad clear sections felt super fun with high ad density, and the third one introducing a mini boss was super cool to see. The mini boss basically had a crystal on his back that you had to shoot, and then once you broke it, you would see a smaller version of this crystal flying around, and you could basically destroy that as well. And after you broke all 3, you could attack the target. It was nothing too crazy, but it was a nice change of pace, and it's what led into the best part of the whole vault, and that is the main boss fight. When I say this is the best boss fight we have ever seen in a Borderlands game, I am not lying. First off, visually the boss looks amazing. From the almost bony looking armor, the details of all the spikes, and even all the corrosion it constantly is throwing at you, it genuinely looks incredible. But it is not just about the looks, the fight itself is also excellent. Once you get in, you start off doing damage like you usually would on any other boss, but you learn real quick that you could use the new movement to dodge attacks. This is great because if you get the timing down of most of the attacks, you cannot take damage. Adding this extra layer to bossing makes it feel like you have more control in the boss fight compared to the other Borderlands games. Then once you get that down, you'll see that you can start using your grapple to rip armor off of the boss to expose a crit spot. So between managing all of its attacks and offensively having to do a mechanic to do more damage, it felt so fun to play. And it doesn't even end there, because eventually when you get them down enough, it will enter a cocoon phase that almost felt like an immune phase, but it is not. The reason I say that is because you'll notice you can shoot the top of the cocoon to break it down from the ceiling. While doing so, you can even take advantage of grappling into the air to make it easier to hit, and then you can go into a glide to make it even easier to hit. Once you do enough damage to the cocoon, the boss will fall back down to the ground, and you can start damaging them normally again. So the more damage you do, the quicker the boss comes down, and the quicker you can kill them. The boss did enter this cocoon phase 2 times, but I imagine once we have our insane builds, we'll probably be able to to kill it before it even enters that phase to begin with. Regardless, everything about the boss was excellent, and I'm really hoping the other vaults and vault bosses are similar to this one, because if they are, we are going to be eating good. So now I just kind of want to talk about how each character and some of the loot felt when playing through the vault. The characters we received were pre-made ones, so we couldn't see or change anything about them. But that being said, I'm not sure about the exact builds we were running, but we could pick up other loot and try them out. So for my first run, I played with Vex. We got to use her Dead Ringer action skill in a much more active area. I have to say it felt pretty good. It seemed like I was using it more so to take aggro off of me instead of them dealing damage, but it's not like they weren't doing any damage. Since they can change damage based on the elemental weapon you are holding, having a Molly-Wand weapon was super handy. On top of that, when I got to the mini boss, it was cool to have a clone that could shoot the crystal, or even have a melee one that could distract while I shoot it from behind. There were some cool tactical plays you could do with them, and I think building into them could be very interesting. Loot wise, I had a Jacob shotgun that reloaded like a TDR, which felt very weird, but also pretty cool at the same time. I also got a Torg AR with the Ripper charge up part, and it was shredding through the mobbing areas. Vex also came equipped with a rocket in her ordnance slot, and starting off, I didn't think too much of this until I realized you could spam it almost like a machine gun. With that knowledge, it started to feel amazing. It was deleting almost anything you wanted to spam it at, but I will say on the boss, it wasn't as good because you really need to hit crits on the boss, and the rocket just wasn't doing that, especially with this travel time and the boss moving around everywhere. But one of the coolest things I got on Vex was a Vladoff SMG, but it actually had the Torg stickies on it and an alternate fire that let you shoot more rockets. This means you could spam the whole Vladoff mag very quickly, reload to detonate all the Torg stickies, and then even swap over again to shoot even more explosives. It was very cool. Overall, Vex was a ton of fun, but I do think Rafa took the show. So with Rafa, we had his Peacebreaker Cannon's action skill, and this one felt pretty solid. Just being able to run around the map and have passive damage on you at all times while also proccing Rafa's passive was amazing. These cannons don't do anything crazy damage wise, but you can kind of view them more as a utility benefit, sort of like Vex's action skill. The thing that immediately stood out to me the most on Rafa was that he had access to a throwing knife. Now everybody will be able to use throwing knives, just with our pre-made characters, Rafa had one already equipped. Now as I said in my world video, the throwing knives feel incredible. The moment I threw one, I knew I was going to have to make a build around them, and coming off of Vex and using the rocket launcher, I wasn't expecting a lot from a throwing knife, but after using it, I genuinely wanted to use the knife over the rocket. You can basically just launch these things in the general direction of an enemy and you will hit them. Getting criticals also felt incredible because they did a ton of damage and they also sounded so satisfying. One of the craziest things I got loot wise on Rafa was a Vladoff AR that had a flamethrower underbarrel attachment. Even on armored enemies, this flamethrower was shredding, so you can only imagine how well it would do on flesh. The base gun alone also felt very solid, but the flamethrower was just something else. So between having a very solid action skill granting his passive and also just doing passive damage, a giga thrower knife that felt so good to use, and a flamethrower that could melt even armor, Rafa definitely felt a little easier to play than with Vex. Overall though, they both still were a ton of fun. I think Rafa just took the lead slightly because of the equipment that he did have. But that is pretty much it from my experience with the vault. After all the playtime I had, build crafting and this was 100% the thing I was the most excited about when leaving the studio. Like I said earlier, I can't wait to see how the other vaults are going to play and look, because this one has me very excited. I'll have both Vex's and Rafa's full gameplays with no commentary up after this video if you would like to check them out. And once again, thank you to 2K for sponsoring this video and letting me record the gameplay early. And of course, a massive thank you to you all as well for the continued support and for even allowing things like this to happen in the first place. And if you're excited as I am, know that you can pre-order Borderlands 4 now, and if you do so, consider using the links in the description. Let me know what you all think about vaults in the comments below, and if you have any questions, I will try to answer as many as possible. But that is going to do it all for me. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.